What's up, Soul Warriors? Welcome to this Healing Messages of the Week. This is a 10-part series, going to take apart all 10 years, year by year, of my recovery and healing journey. Tonight, we're going to get into part 2, year 2, and I named it The Power of Resilience, and that's because as I look over it, that's exactly what I was truly learning. In year 2, I was learning I could do hard things and I didn't have to be high to do it or to take care of things. And so I'm super grateful and honored to be sitting in the seat for all of you that allow me to share in this way and to just release all this stuff, to get all of this stuff out. Because my hope is there's one teeny tiny nugget in here somewhere that's relatable to you and that resonates with you in your life and just might possibly help you just get up from your give up and create a life you love. Hopefully what you gain from the story of my recovery journey is that the expectations that we have coming in, which are really given to us by society, if you stop using, life gets better. Well, we really need to talk about that. We need to be realistic with our expectations and really truly understand what it means to step into a healing journey, because that's what recovery is. Recovery is different than clean and sober. Clean and sober is we put down the coping mechanisms, but we never change internally. Recovery, on the other hand, is something where we rebuild ourselves from the inside out, and it takes a while and it takes work to start to create a life that you love, to start to understand what mindsets you may be stuck in, to start to understand what belief systems are plaguing your own operation in your own life. There's so many things that we don't understand. And in year 2 of my journey, I started truly opening my eyes and recognizing. I started being introduced to some new information that began to resonate with me and allowed me to start to realize, number one, how strong I am and was, and number two, that I had the power to create the life that I wanted to live. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight in year 2. I'm super excited to do this. Sorry I missed you all last week. It's just been a crazy few weeks. A lot of us are being really compressed right now. I have used this example before, and it just still seems so fitting. But it's like the space shuttle. You spend all this time and count endless energy and resources to build this rocket that has this super amazing goal, probably the goal of your life, and you spend all of this time and this energy and this money and all the things to build this thing. And as it gets ready to take off, you are in this chamber where it's thousands of degrees in heat, where the engines are rumbling, where all of the braces beside you are getting ready to like violently pop off, and it's time to take off. And I feel like so many of us right now, we're sitting in that moment, that pre-launch moment. And so wherever you are in your life right now, whatever you're going through, know that you're not alone, that many people are going through some of the hardest trials and tribulations of their lifetime, and that this is what happens when the human spirit and the human race is called to ascend to that next level. So wherever you are tonight, I'm grateful that you're here. I'm grateful for those of you that will watch this on a replay. I appreciate all your support and all of the ways you guys are sharing this message out and getting it in front of new audience members. It's really, really appreciated. Also want to let you know that this audio, this broadcast will be available in audio on Spotify about an hour after the show. And then by tomorrow morning, it will be available on all of your other major podcast platforms. Thank you so much for your support there, for all of your amazing reviews. And I just can't thank you enough. So, hey, let's get into a couple things here off the jump. I hope there's enough people here to see these amazing resources. Let me run over here and get this going. I want to thank you first and foremost for being here once again and giving all your support. I want to show some love and support to my good friend, my soul sister, Miss Pamela Topjian, who's written this amazing book. I didn't come this far to only come this far. This is an amazing just a story filled with hope, filled with the power of resilience, filled with getting up from her give up and creating a life that she loves. And I'm super proud of her for writing this book. You can get that on Amazon.com/Pamela Topjian. That's where you can also find her second book, another memoir, Behind the Mask, Gloves, and Strugs. Scrubs. One nurse's journey. I love her ability to tell a story. I love her ability to relate that story back to us. These things are truly resources available there on Amazon. So affordable. So if you're looking for some hope, if you're looking for some resilience, if you're looking for a comeback story and you want to be inspired, pick up these books right here with Pamela Topjian. All right. Also, Pamela Topjian also has an amazing YouTube channel that is filled with guided meditations, different parts of her story and podcast episodes. You can find that at youtube.com/at Pamela Topjian. She's got one specifically there that I love so much for this community, but it is to help through cravings. So go look that guided visualization up. This is kind of the link, but you really just go to the YouTube channel, subscribe, do all the things, and find that amazing cravings visualization. It's really, really, really helpful. All right, next up is our good friend and point of change creator, Mr. Matty Jablonski's with his book, Poetry of Change. This is a great, super little thin book. It's got a wonderful concept. I'm so proud of him for sharing in this way, for putting all this together. Listen, I told you all that the recovery community is filled with some of the most artistic and creative human beings on the planet. Mostly that's what happens to us. We are so overstimulated that just go look. Okay, just go talk to somebody, talk to some of your recovery friends, and find out just how talented these human people are. I mean, it's amazing. Matty Jablonski and the Poetry of Change is no different. So pick that up at Amazon.com/poetry of change. Mr. Matty Jablonski and the Point of Change. Love that guy. And last but certainly not least, one of my most favorite resources of all of 2024 is Martin John Garcia's The Recovery Mentors version of the Tao Te Ching. It's a great little pocket version. It's got all the verses mixed with Martin John's lived wisdom and his creativity. It's got the verses from 1 to 81. It's a great pocket resource. It's amazing, amazing. So proud of this guy as well. Love him. Pick that up at martinjohn.com. And man, get yourselves inspired. And answer me this in the comments. What is your biggest resource right now? Where are you finding your greatest amount of peace? Where are you finding your greatest amount of growth? It's sometimes we get kind of weird to share some things, but you never know what you share that might help somebody else. You never know what resource you've just maybe scanned over that could change somebody else's life. So I really, really appreciate all of you. Pick up all of these amazing resources. Once again, I'm so ready to get into part 2. We're going to do part 2, year 2, the power of resilience. So if you're ready, I'm ready. Let's go. All right, man. I hope that you got a chance to watch year 1, part 1 a couple weeks ago. It's I try to think about where I left off and where we would be picking up. But in year 2, I'm going to give a short recap. In year 1, we've gone from homeless, we've gone from addicted to in treatment to adulting and having a home, from homeless to a home, a housing program, and all of it within like 3 or 4 months of each other. I'm learning how to adult for the first time ever in my life, raising a young teenage son, and my wife's in the midst of a relapse, full on heroin relapse. And here we go into year 2, and this is still going on. And it is still making me feel like, what the hell's going on? I don't know what I thought. I don't know why I thought that somehow life's red carpet would be rolled out to me when I decided that I was absolutely done and ready for some type of healing. I didn't know what I thought, but I really was under the belief system that, well, if you stop using, if you stop the thing that seems to be the problem, then the problems will go away. And I really had no earthly idea how deep some of my own operating systems went. I did not understand the power or the way the brain worked. And I did not understand how much trauma we hold within our bodies and our nervous systems. I felt like just a raw nerve walking around with nothing to numb or knock the edge off. That I was just this wild-eyed, wild animal walking around in the world, just blowing up and feeling so overwhelmed that I just felt like I couldn't handle anything. But at the same time, I had made that decision within myself that no matter what, I'm not going to cope in this way. And so I did a whole lot of white knuckling in year 2. I won't lie to you. I did a whole lot of just holding on, even though I knew something had changed, because as I was watching my wife go through this massive relapse, I remember thinking that none of that looked fun to me. Like none of it was tempting to go back to that with her. But at the same time, I was now experiencing what it was like to be the family member of someone in active addiction. I got to feel what it was like to worry about somebody. I got to feel like what it was like to not trust somebody that I trusted the most in this world. And I started to feel all of that stuff. And I started to really begin to unknowingly ask some bigger questions like, okay, what is this about? What am I supposed to, like, in a way, I felt like I deserved that because if I had put my family through that as well, especially my grandparents. No one else in my family really went through it as much, but my grandparents were my constant there. So of course they were the ones that did all the constant worrying, all of the constant enabling. Because when you are the enabler, you get no peace either. When you are the one that always lends the hand, you also get no peace in someone else's addiction. I don't know if that's valuable for somebody out there, somebody who may be having a family member or a loved one going through this. Do understand this, that the enabler is going on this addiction journey with them. They are just not getting the high at the end, and that's it. And so I was kind of on this journey with my wife. I was worried. Here she was out there by herself for the first time. I was worried of was she going to get hurt? Was she going to compromise her own self in ways? Because that's what we do in active addiction. We compromise who we are at our core, and that causes its own deep trauma when we do that. But so there was just this constant state of madness. Like I felt like I was going insane. I was so overwhelmed all of the time in year 2. I was on MAT, so there was no real support group for people on MAT. We still weren't being invited into the rooms. And if you did go into the rooms, you really had to feel like you had to lie or hide something. And that didn't feel honest or authentic. So a lot of this stuff I did as a lone vessel. And so that is something that I do not suggest to anyone out there that will ever listen to this, is don't isolate yourself to the point that you are all alone, because it takes far more unnecessary grit to go through all of that by yourself than it does to reach out and ask somebody for help. And I really didn't had not taken time to build my support group. In year 2, I was still trying to figure out who I was and where I wanted to be. So I was still hanging out with some of my old crowd, and I was meeting people that were in these programs, but at the same time, my vibration was vibrating with people in the program that were at the same level as I was. So we weren't really helping each other, to be honest. We were helping to keep each other stuck in some dark places and some dark habits and some dark mindsets. And I'll tell you, year 2 came still with some habits that weren't exactly health oriented. They weren't necessarily recovery oriented. There were still some instances of escape, but they weren't to the point of I would have called a relapse. I call it more growth than I do relapses in certain ways. I was still walking, very much so walking forward, still very much so determined. And yet there were a few times in there where I made an active choice to escape, not necessarily with, my drug of choices or anything like that. But I think a relapse comes in when you make a conscious choice to escape your own self, your own reality. And there were a few times that I was just like, I need some help with this. I got to have some help with this. I'm to my limit. And I didn't beat myself up about those things. Once again, I did not determine those instances to be relapses. I determined them to be kind of life or death type of situations. And so, I gave myself a lot more grace than I think I realized at the time in year 2. I gave myself the grace to continue to move forward in the ways that were helping me the most. And again, I felt like I was all alone. I just felt like I was absolutely all alone. It just seemed like there was no one that I could reach out to, and this wasn't available. What we're doing right now was not available in that time. It had not necessarily really kicked off yet, this online recovery craze, because and so that'll be one of the reasons that I talk to you next week in year 3, that I began to step into and recognize a different purpose for my life. And so year 2 leads up to the purpose discovery of your life. And I really, at this point, if I'm in year 10, I almost hate to use the word purpose discovery, because I believe that our purpose here on earth is far past what I thought that it was in year 2 and 3. In year 2 and 3, I started finding that I had a way of sharing that helped put other people at ease that were going through things. I didn't fully discover it, but it started becoming a resource. It started becoming my service back to the community, as well as what fed my own life and my own recovery. Because even though I didn't have anyone there that I was drawing support from, I was drawing, I don't want to call it comfort, but I was drawing a sense of well-being, I guess you would say, through service. Oh my goodness, what's up, Bradley Bagwell? Good to see you, sister. Good to see you too, Pamela Topchin. What's up, Chip Dip? Don't y'all love it? Can you imagine what the audio version of this sounds like when I just randomly start shouting out names? It's gotta be, like, completely ridiculous. For all those listening to this on audio later, this is recorded during a live video with active people in, and I'm talking to people in the chat. So, make that little service announcement. So, thank you guys for being here and to lend me this energy, man. It's not easy to really go back and tell these stories. It's not always easy to really think about it. Pamela, you know this for sure because you've written a memoir, how you go back through your life. Seems like every day since day one that I made this decision for my life to try to figure out what the hell the best version of myself was in my life. It it just seems like it's been like just this one climb, this one constant climb up this never-ending mountain that it feels like sometimes. But it's helpful. It's really, really helpful to take this stuff apart because seriously, I go back to the theme of year 2, which was I just kept learning. I could not see 3 steps ahead of me. I could not plan out even the next day. I just had to have the strength to take that next step, whatever it was. Wake up, get out of bed today. Because I had no job yet. We had moved into this apartment. I had started working, getting work because, people aren't banging the door down to, hire people that have gotten felonies in their past and all the things that happen when we are out there actively using. And, I couldn't find a job. So I was really out there trying to figure out how in the hell I was going to keep this roof over our heads because we had no other choice. And this housing program we were in was affiliated with through the treatment center that I was at. And really, the housing program was simple where they gave you so much money towards your rent. You paid a portion of the rent according to your income, and then you were responsible for all of the bills, the water, all the stuff. And I had no idea how I was going to do this. And funny enough, the program director for this housing program hated me and my family. She resented us because I think sometimes these some of these programs and some of these people, it was true for this one for sure, was kind of a filler program where it was almost destined to fail, so they did not vet people wanting to get into this program very well for their determination on what they were going to do with the program. When I came into the program, I had a very clear um, I had a clear goal for this program. It was to help me learn how to adult, get my family out of homelessness, and I'll do whatever it takes to make sure I'm on top of this program and that I succeed in this program. I had a real sense of gratitude in that you get when you are homeless, you get a real sense of gratitude when there is a place, a person, a situation that can help. When you've come to the end of that line and you're tired of burning bridges, you're willing to be able to see what a gift that is and to step into it. And so I was stressing myself to death, killing myself trying to manage all the parts and pieces of life that I did not understand. I was lucky in that time really to have began to make a new relationship with my mom who I was able to really, I guess if I can't say I didn't have anybody because I was really able to bounce things off of her and get life advice. Like, how do I manage to pay these bills? I didn't know anything about budgets. I knew get money and spend money. I had no idea how to manage money or a household. And my wife, who I had depended on for a lot of that stuff, because she was way more responsible than me when we met, she was the responsible one. Now she's out there and I'm having to figure it out, all while trying to shield our son from what was also happening with his mother because there was a real part of me that did not want him to see it. And gosh, did not expect it to last 2 years. I expected she'd have a run like this in year 1 and then figure it out as we went to detox after detox after detox. Year 2 began the year of detox and mental hospital stays and overprescribing for depression, things that medically were happening. It was a whirlwind of emotions. It was a whirlwind of triggering trauma. It was a whirlwind of holy shit, this is not what I signed up for. I wanted to click the box of clean and sober and all your problems go away. I didn't know it was this, but I'm in it now and I can't go back. And I have to keep looking forward. And so, if you've been with me for a long time, "What's up, Missy? Love you." If you've been with me for a long time, you know that my son was my major determination. So, not being a hypocrite, not wanting him to grow up and follow in my footsteps of how he would now cope with his life, he was my determination. And so I had to kick that up a notch in year 2 because I wanted to shield him from really honestly what was going on with his mom as much as I could. I didn't want him to have that picture of his mom. And it would make more sense if you knew his mom and his relationship prior to this. You know, my wife was my son's hero, biggest supporter, greatest protector. I mean, she does not play about her boy, and I just did not want him to see that. But it was a lot trying to shield him from seeing that, trying to shield the housing program from also seeing that, and thinking that, oh, I don't have all my shit together, so that we weren't homeless again. And I just knew that somebody, one of us, had to stay somehow sane for his sake. And, you can try to cover these things up, you can try to hide them, and then it just gets so overwhelming. It got so overwhelming to me to try to spin everybody's plates. I felt like one of those guys at the circus that have those sticks with all those plates on them, and he's doing it on his feet, and he's doing it, and that's what I felt like I was doing in life, and I knew inevitably it was all going to come crashing down at some point because you can't keep it up. You just can't keep it up. And I had 0 release. I didn't know yet in year 2 how to have a healthy release of emotion. I was still operating from the place where my anger covered up my hurt, and I also was not at all self-aware to be able to name those things. I didn't realize that I had so many more emotions within me besides anger. I thought, "Nope, I'm not sad. I'm not depressed. I'm just pissed off." And it started taking me in year 2, I started really taking apart and being able to recognize and name feelings and emotions that were just grouped together as anger. And so, oh gosh, just thinking about year 2, I can feel the overwhelm. I can feel the most of the time just not knowing what the hell I'm doing, but trying harder than you've ever seen anybody try. I was out there going to work and doing construction for all these random people, and I was still vibrating in that very low vibrational state. So of course I was working with people who would end up not paying me. I mean, it was just so much. And I still to this day don't even understand exactly how we survived because there just was little to no income, but it would always end up working itself out. Year 2 was the year that we had to, for the first time ever, on Christmas, go to our young son and say, "Listen, we just can't. There's no money. There's nothing we can do." Um, there were some hard moments in year 2 to deal with. There were some really, really hard things to work through. But at the end of it all, what I started learning and showing myself was I can get through this. It's a moment at a time. I can get through this a moment at a time. I didn't have to get through this for the entire day. I didn't have to get through it for the entire year. I had to get through it for one moment in time. And before I knew it, as long as I just kept my head down and concentrating on that next right step for me, then I knew I would get there. And I just kept my head down and I just kept walking. And I just kept moving through in the best way that I knew how to do. I started becoming self-aware. I started really connecting with gratitude. It wasn't a lot. I didn't have the same practice that I have today. I just had this, I almost call it a divine sense within me that I could sense enough gratitude in my life to keep moving, just to keep moving forward. And it was a still, I spoke about this in part one about my karma checklist. And I was still very much checking that thing off in year two. For every time I felt like I had to sleep on my car keys, for every time, and I want y'all to know that's how bad it got. That's how bad it got with my wife. I mean, my wife, not my friend or my buddy or my sister. This was my wife. And I felt like every single night I had to sleep with my wallet and my car keys under my pillow. And there were so many nights that I asked myself, what are you doing? And this small voice would say, you're checking off your karma checklist. Because I knew without a doubt that my grandparents had gone through the exact same thing. And I somehow knew, and this is going to sound pretty woo-woo and weird, I somehow knew that they were walking with me. There was this deeper sense of me, in me, that felt protected during all of this. Even though I didn't always see it, even though wasn't always in my awareness, but I just had this deeper sense of being protected through this journey. And I dealt with a lot of hate. Like, I felt like there were moments and times that I hated my wife for doing this. It wasn't that I hated her, it was that I hated what I was having to go through. I wasn't afraid to look at that and be aware of really how selfish that sounded or how it felt, but that's what was real. Doesn't matter how it sounds or what it looks like, it was real to me. And I just couldn't believe I felt abandoned. And I've had to deal with, like, I've had to work through that in my own life because I really felt abandoned by her in that time. Because, wait a minute, I I produced what it was we had talked about wanting together. I had produced what we said it was going to take for us to get to that better place. And now you've just left me for drugs, you know? I mean, this is the real deal. If we're talking real family members of people that are going through addiction in here with us tonight, that's the truth of it. That's how it feels. That's what it is. And yet, there's an ability to have compassion for that other person on the other side because you know that they are now masking some type of pain, hurt, and trauma in their lives, and this is the best they can do. But it doesn't discount how it makes you feel. It does not discount how it affects you as a human being. And you're not wrong for questioning people that have put you through this over and over and over again. Trust is a hard thing to rebuild, and especially in these senses, because I know both sides. So I know in active addiction, um, you do what you have to do to get it done. You compromise what you have to compromise. You compromise yourself, your morals, your values. You compromise yourself in many ways, whether it's just lying to someone or cheating someone. You compromise yourself. So you're damaging yourself and damaging others. And in the whole of it all, everyone's being damaged. And even when we get into sobriety, even when we start a recovery journey, it's very valuable to be able to have those conversations with those people and hear their perspective and allow them to hear yours, because it's not a punishing for yourself. I guess if we're talking about year two, one of the things I guess would be that whole deal is of not self-punishing. We're still coming out of year one, which we're still trying to regulate our bodies, and we're still trying to figure out how in the hell we're going to walk through this life without, sober. I mean, that in of itself is a hard feat to do. For me, I had lived the majority of my life not sober. So now being sober and feeling like I'm being dragged through life's shithole, you know, uh, there was just there's a lot of acceptance that has to happen in there. There's a lot of being able to see yourself, and there's a lot of there's a real need to be able to say to yourself, listen, I'm doing the best I can. I think there's a real need in life today to recognize that you're doing the best that you can, because we are just inundated with images and short videos of people's best lives, but we're not seeing the other 23 hours of the day. And so it's easy to compare ourselves to someone else and what they seem to have or what they seem to be doing, and say, well, I'm not doing enough, or what I'm doing is not good enough, or any of those things. I mean, like, a comparison to other people, if it's not used in a healthy manner, can be like an anchor to your success and whatever success looks like for you, you know? And so the comparison factor it's a killer. Even today, we've got to give ourselves grace to grow and know that we're doing the best that we can, and understand that that's enough. That is enough. I have really been taken apart, as I'm going through this series and as I'm going through my life right now. It's been a crazy week. I'm running a business with employees for the first time. I've never done that, but running a business with employees with a larger scale task to take care of. And we had a lot of mishaps this week, a lot of bad weather, and a lot of things that I could not control. And I started noticing my there was this pattern that came up for me, that showed itself to me, where I would start really criticizing myself for how much I accomplished this week in comparison to what my original intention was. And I'm so grateful that I finally, on Friday evening, when I sat down and that pattern almost started, was able to say, hey, wait a minute, man. Come on. Come on. You don't create 35 and 45-mile-an-hour gusts of wind. You don't create that. You can't stop the sand and the sea from blowing. You can't do any of those things. So, what is it that we did accomplish this week? And when I looked at it in that way, I was like, well, shit, okay. Did pretty good this week. Didn't do bad. Did well. And so I think the ways that I started and how that brings home the year two, how that rolls back around to year two, is the foundation of the ability to be able to do that with myself was born in these times, these first times where I'm building resilience, where I keep getting back up every single time life knocks me down, or I trip and fall over my own bullshit, or over something else. Every time I did that, I was building the foundation that I stand firmly on today. And so I guess if you're going through these years, if you're early in your recovery journey and you feel like all you do is struggle, then know that there is a purpose for it. Your roots are being strengthened right now. Your roots are growing in. See, a plant grows under the ground before you ever see it. By the time you see it, by the time anything pops up through the soil, it has already grown roots. And I always love the analogy, of which I did first here in year two, is about the seed. And imagine the darkness that the seed is in. Even the caterpillar, I've listened to this analogy, but imagine how dark it is underground, wet, musty. You have no idea what's happening to you. You're busting open this skin. You're becoming something brand new. But are you aware that you're becoming something brand new, or do you just know that you're in a struggle? And in all of these things have to take place in order for that end result to ever be possible. And so when we think about the reason that trees are so strong and resilient, and that they can take the wind, and that they can, that they stand for hundreds of years, is because of the root system. And wherever you are in your journey right now, if you're continuing to walk forward, doesn't matter if you're on an addiction recovery journey. Thus is life. Thus is life. You're building your root system through these trials and tribulations. You're building the roots of your own legacy. Getting to talk to our good friend Missy today, it brings me to that. What is the end goal here? Is to leave a legacy of what? What is the legacy? For them, the legacy is love, togetherness, and family, no matter what. And I think that's a beautiful legacy to create in our lives. And I guess my question for you is, on your recovery or your healing journey, what is the legacy that you are in the process of creating? Because the greatest legacies we're aware of in our culture today started being built from nothing, and the struggle of those people building it from nothing to what we see of it today, it was not always roses. It was not always rainbows and unicorns. There were some hard struggles, some sacrifices, some some really huge trials and tribulations, some big loss. And all of it builds that foundation of legacy. So whether you think you're alone or you're a part of a clan, what is the legacy that you are building? What are you leaving here? How will the world be a better place because you're in it? And it doesn't mean some big, great thing you got to do that's outside of you. What if you healed a pattern in your own family so that your next generation of people did not have to go through that? See, what I hope that I'm building, the legacy that I'm building in my world, is that I can stop the cycle of addiction with me. And therefore, the next generation may not ever see addiction or even have to understand what it is or what it meant. And I don't need them to understand me long after I'm dead and gone. I just need them not to be struggling through the cycle of addiction that has passed through our family line generation after generation after generation. Maybe not to the extent that I took it to, but dang close. And so we all at any time are offered a choice in how we're going to conceptualize and utilize our life and all the players within it, all the cycles, all of the belief systems, all of the mindsets, everything. We're going to have to make a decision. How do I utilize this? How do I change it? And often it comes to a huge breakdown. Often it comes to a huge breaking point to all of a sudden have that moment click in and go, hey, wait a minute. Today I get to choose. Today I get to choose my experience because I might not be in control of life, but I'm damn sure in control of my experience of it. So I get to choose what perspective I'm going to meet this person, this place, this situation, or this thought process with. I get to choose how I'm going to experience that. That is one of the greatest freedoms I started discovering in year 2, was the fact that I had a choice of how I was going to meet and experience every situation. Some moments I got it right, some moments not so much, but every moment I was present, and every moment I was determined to add this to the bag of tools and keep moving forward. Without all those trials, I don't know that I would be the resilient human that I am today. I don't know if I would trust myself the way that I trust myself today. I don't know that if it had been easy, that I would have had the love and the foundation that I do get to share with my wife and family today that was being built in that. Because, no, listen, if you've ever been in long-term relationship, or if you're in one now, you know that There's different phases of love that we experience. The new stuff and then the real stuff. The stuff that comes in when you go through hard shit together. Those foundations. There's a whole different love we have together in year 18 than we had in year 1. And so, you know, your life is your life is birthing all of its possibilities. And I guess the question is, will you have the resilience? Will you keep being determined to walk forward and get excited about whatever it is? No matter what you're going through, if you're in a moment right now where you're in a breakdown, get excited, because breakthroughs come after breakdowns, baby. And that's the way we do it. It's a setup. It's a setup. It's always a setup for some type of new break to happen in your life. Maybe for some of us it is, I ain't got to be perfect. Maybe we have to break down in this way to realize, holy shit, that's way too much pressure. I don't have to do that. I don't have to be that way. And we have to have a breaking point to break through, because we often hold so much energy and so much chaos in our lives that we don't make room for the stuff that we're asking for, praying for, and believing for, or even working towards. If there's no room in your life, how in the world are you going to hold this? How are you going to make space for this in which you have asked for? So life will come in and earthquake your situation in order to make room for that in which you have asked for. So, do you have room for the blessings that you're calling into your life today? If not, make some room. You don't have to get to the breakdown in order to get to the breakthrough, but for the most part, most of us as humans resist it, and therefore the breakdown comes. But again, get excited. If you're in the breakdown, baby, you're on the verge of the breakthrough. Lean in and go with it, and don't forget I said this, okay? Don't forget I said that the harder that it seems, the greater the breakthrough on the other side, and your life can be completely different after this. And so, resilience. Resilience, the power of resilience. That's been year 2. I thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. I hope that this made some sense. I hope you find some resonance here with this. If you do, please do all the things: the like, shares, comments, and subscribes. Do all the stuff. Man, I appreciate y'all so much. It's been so good spending time in your energy. What's up, Rhonda? I love you. All of my friends. What's up? What's up, Michelle? Thank you so much. I am also blessed to know you in this season of your life. I think it's quite amazing. Very inspiring to me. And I love it. Thanks, Bradley. Thanks, Pamela. Thanks, Chip Dip. Thanks to anybody else who's watching this. We're like live on like 8 platforms. So if you're watching somewhere else and I didn't give you a shout out, just know that I love you and I appreciate you. And I thank you for all the support. You guys know all the things to do. I know that no matter what, this next week, okay, these are healing messages for the week. Let's go into this next week understanding who we are. Think about your year 2, whether you're in an addiction recovery journey or you're in a healing journey. Think about your year 2. What was happening in your year 2? How in the world is it contributing to you today? How is it blessing your life today? Let the powers of your past bless your life today. Let the lessons of your life become the blessings of your today. And remember that choice lies only with you. How will you experience this? So I wish you guys the most amazing and blessed and awesome week. That's what I want for all of us. We've got some major planetary alignments and shifts and stuff happening this coming up week. Be prepared. Lean into your love. lean into your love for yourself. Don't let anything surprise you. These are big times. This is a huge month. It's filled with blessings. You just got to be able to redefine what you believe blessings might be. Be willing to work with every energy that comes your way. Don't forget, utilize every tool that's available to you. I utilize a lot of astrology because, I watch the moon run the ocean tides every single day. So it's not like I don't understand the power of the energies and the magnetism that these things bring. So I study them in order to help myself navigate through the energies of upcoming days and weeks and months. And so I encourage you to utilize every single possible resource available in your life as well. Okay, I'm finally done. I love you guys so much. I thank y'all so much for hanging out with me. I thank you for doing all the shares. I thank you for doing all the things, and I appreciate you. And I will see you hopefully next week. I've got some great guests that I'm getting ready to interview for season 6 of Recovery Soul Food podcast. It is going to be epic, and you're not going to want to miss a single episode. I can't wait to share all that with you. Until then, y'all have an amazing week and know that I love you. And no matter what, you can get up from your give up and you can create a life you love. I'm living proof, and so are you. You're a miracle. Love you. Bye.